Okay, I'm going to share my slides for you so that you can see. Okay, hoping everybody can see those slides. So this is an anti-racist program that I have developed because I believe that we need it. And I have spent the last 8 years studying race, studying whiteness, studying racism, both as a practitioner, but also as a researcher. And I really have had to piece together, I feel as though I've had to piece together a curriculum and a program in order to understand myself racially, in order to learn how to hold myself in spaces that require me and demand me to talk about racism and really consider carefully who I want to be in that space. So this is an accredited anti-racist program in order to deepen your knowledge and skills, because I don't believe that one anti-racist program is enough. I believe that we need sustained and spaces in order to develop. So what I'm going to do is just introduce myself and my work, and then I'm going to go through who's this for, why I've developed it, the curriculum and the timings, and then I'm going to introduce our just three of the speakers who are going to feature on the program, and then how you book and the costing. So it's a short webinar today to just introduce the program. We're super excited about it at Equitable Coaching. If you don't know me, I run Equitable Coaching, so I'm a former educator. I'm a qualified teacher. I'm a former research fellow at the University of Oxford. And I run my business that's based around combining research, facilitation, and development programs in order to develop leadership. And I don't mean leadership as in role, I mean leadership as in wherever we are, can we have impact and make a difference on the way that people feel about their feel about themselves, and are we aligned to values? So my work really tries to center who am I when I show up in spaces, and is it aligned with what I believe and how I practice? Because there have been times in my life where that hasn't been in alignment, and it has caused health challenges. It's caused me to not be in alignment, basically. So being part of practices that mean that I can check myself and check that I understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it is really key. So my organisation is Equitable Coaching. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I'm Dr. Claire Rising on Instagram. So who's this for? So who's the programme for? So we have 15 spaces. Anybody can join. So expect people with different intersecting racialised and cultural experiences. So those people who've contacted me and are interested in the programme already, lots of different racialised backgrounds. So this is a collective space. It's not a space just for people from global majorities or white people who want to do some anti-racist work. This is a collective space. So expect people who've already done a bit or have already engaged in an anti-racist program or some anti-racist work, but can see the necessity of a regular space in order to deepen the work. We will also welcome people who are willing to engage in embodied practices. So in my research, after about 2 years, I recognised and realised that there is little point in just reading books about anti-racism and trying to absorb and change it in isolation, and change practices, change socialization, change my approach to trying to work in spaces where I'm in alignment with my values, unless it involves the body. So we will draw on the work of Resmaa Menakem. We will draw on the work of Dr. Eugene Ellis, and think about different therapeutic strategies in order to process some of the feelings that we might have when we begin to talk about race. So racialization is highly linked, and all research tells us that racialization is highly linked to embodied work. So it's a critical part of the practice that we'll do. So why? Because if we don't begin to talk about whiteness and we don't begin to divest from whiteness, and by divesting from whiteness, I mean on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, how am I remaining in alignment with my values? Do I recognize whiteness when it shows up? And is there some kind of space where I can move out of a normalization of whiteness and move into a space where I'm cognizant and I feel some sense of joy from divesting from whiteness, that it doesn't feel heavy, although it is heavy and it is really problematic to be able to process some of the traumatic things that we're seeing across the world. Actually, in my life, we begin from where we are. So how do we liberate those discussions, both the internal discussions that we have, but also the external discussions in our communities, with our families, when we're parenting, at work, in spaces where we're leading. And in particular, I just want to draw attention to the idea that our practices, say in coaching practices or therapeutic practices or teaching or in social work, we're using systems and we're engaging in systems that are damaging to people. And so we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We can begin to be strategic about how we engage in systems. So we're combining race work, informed embodied practice, and collaborative reflection. And we're really looking at our own implication about race and how these practices function in our lives. There's space for you to prioritize your own intent. So what's your driving reason for being here based on your experiences, and there will be reflective space and journaling space to be able to think about your own patterns and investments, and then using the group collective to strategize how to divest from them. So we meet in different spaces. So I've arranged for 6 Saturday morning sessions where we meet from 9:15 to 11 a.m. via Zoom. We will begin by looking at and thinking about what whiteness is, what does it mean, and then begin to map our what resonates with us and what our own racialized patterns might be. In session 2, we think about how do I as an individual begin to unpick my own implications, and I've got lots of strategies to be able to do that based on the research that I have done in my PhD. In session 3, we look at our inner landscapes, and we look at specifically research around race identity development, and we welcome our first speaker, who we'll talk about in just a moment. And on the 10th of January 2026, which feels like quite a long way away, but it's not. It's actually quite close. We think about what I describe and Vanilla Silver describes as a white habitus. So what happens when you step into a white habitus space, regardless of your racialization, and how do you begin to strategize in it? So then we start to bring some of these theories into reality. So there'll be space for you to begin to talk about what your challenge is, what your particular challenges, and use the group to think about, okay, how do we strategize around that? If we have shared alignment, how do we stay in alignment? And we welcome our second speaker. in February, by February, we dedicate time to reimagining anti-racist futures. So I want to ensure, I think it's really important that we, and drawing on the work of the cultural theorist Stewart-Hall, talks about really committing and investing time for the futures that we want to see. So we're not just going to look and trawl over the past, we're also going to reimagine the futures that we want to have. And we have a final speaker to help us on our way. And then in our final space together, we think about manifesting hope for collective action. So we're, as part of the commitment of the programme, we're not just individuals going back out into the world and into the workplace as part of our families. How do we then build solidarities across different communities to create collective action? And what does that actually mean for you? So those Saturday morning spaces are, and I've chosen Saturday mornings because I want people to come with a different mindset that is not tagged on to the end of the day and doesn't cut out people who are in PAYE jobs or take away from the working day. What I want to do is create a space where, which is a contained focus space to really think about what does this mean and give it some priority. So we're starting with 6 months. This is the level 1 programme, but it's a tightly timed, well-structured piece that we can then use together in order to then drive, use the content and the learning. So each session would have handouts and we'll have reading and pre-work and post-work that people can use to engage. It's also complemented by 3 Tuesday evening slots. And these are spaces in order to dedicate to group coaching or to speakers. So our first speaker, who's an international speaker who studies whiteness and has done for many years, is Dr. Ali Michael, who I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. So it's a space to be able to either hear a speaker and to be able to reflect together. So I'm a qualified level 7 coach, so we will engage in action learning sets and group coaching to be able to really begin to think about our plan. So there'll either be inspirational talks or there will be space for the group to come together to bring real life challenges. So just to move on to our speakers, so I'm just going to frame and talk a little bit about 3 of them to whet your appetite for coming, because we have got some fantastic speakers who are coming to join us and also value and want a space to talk about whiteness and consider how to divest from it. So the first is Judy Osborne from the Global Restitution Project. She's a board member, but she is a cultural strategist and facilitator, also an educator. She brings expertise in really bringing down to earth, how do we then practice? So how do we think about theories of equity and diversity, equity and inclusion, and how do we root them in the everyday in project management? She is a fantastic practitioner and speaker, and I think that she brings international acclaim and gives us gives it real inspiration to move forward. So we welcome Judy Osborne. We also welcome Cathy O'Bear, PhD, who runs and set up the Centre for Transformation and Change. She's published books that are about whiteness, how to transform organisations with whiteness in mind. She's published books that are around how do we manage fatigue. So how do we manage passion fatigue, and how can we locate and bring joy into creating anti-racist futures. She is a coach. She's a practitioner. She brings 35 years experience, and she's an inspirational speaker, and I'm really proud and happy to welcome her. Our third speaker is Ali Michael, who has published her books Raising Race Questions. She works in education, and she's also published a book called Our Problem, Our Path. And she works in spaces, she works all over the world. She's done lots of development work in South Africa around apartheid and lived there for a while. And I've just included this quote because it really kind of cuts to the essence of, I guess, what we're aiming for. So, which is not a quagmire of guilt, discomfort, or isolation. It's a sense of joy, of motivation, of momentum, of inspiration in order to go into the world, back into the world, and divest from whiteness. So those are our speakers. We have two more who are hopefully going to confirm in the next few weeks, which is really exciting. We're just organising dates. So I feel really blessed that we have speakers who bring so much skill and experience of managing whiteness and divesting from it. So we work online via Zoom. So I want to draw attention to a change in the date. So we were going to start on the 11th of October. We're now going to start on the 4th of October. And our 3 monthly Tuesday evenings are November, January, and February, and they're 5:30 till 6:30 Greenwich Mean Time. The cost is the early bird offer. There's still time to book the early bird offer, and brilliant to those people who have done so already. It's only £999 before August the 31st, and thereafter it's £1,250. When I've engaged in programs like this, I have always paid in monthly instalments because that amount of money is a lot of money to come out of somebody's bank account in one month. It is for me anyway. So if you wanted to pay instalments monthly over the 6 months or quarterly, then you would be more than welcome to do so, because that would always be my preference. So just get in touch at claire@equitablecoaching.com. Claire@equitablecoaching.co.uk. Do get in touch with me or arrange a call with me on my website. I will be happy to support and do everything that I can in order to make this a reality. So this is the Equitable Coaching website, where you can find under programs where it says Divest Whiteness, and all of the details about how to join, and the Calendly links to book some time with me should you want to are there. So I shall stop sharing now and just ask if there are any questions from any of the group who are joining us today. And I'll just open the chat. Brilliant. Okay. The first question then is this a space for people who are working in diversity, equity, and inclusion? No, it isn't a space for people working in diversity, equity, and inclusion, because I believe that when I was a practitioner in my organisation didn't like terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and yet I felt that that's what I was doing every day. And that's why I got up and went to work. So it was really this isn't a piece that is about somebody's role. This programme is about somebody who has identified that their own socialisation, their own experiences have led them to a place where they can't enact anti-racist praxis because there are some things in the way. So if I talk about my own experience, that would be a sense that I couldn't talk about racism. So I physically found it really difficult to say words like racism. And it took me a number of years to be able to recognize a racist thought in my mind and then try and process it and try and unpick, well, where has that come from? Because I don't believe that, and yet that's in my head. There are other people who are managing global majority people, or are being managed by global majority people who are highly invested in whiteness. And what's that challenge? What does that mean then for you as someone who is being managed by people who are enacting oppressive actions and oppressive ways of being that adhere to whiteness in your working environment? So that a number of people have signed up in order to have a space to be able to process that without the assumption that people from the global majority are all anti-racist. So what we're doing is we're going beyond a sense that this is tokenistic or performative, and we're actually starting to think about, okay, how do we manage those situations with care, with healing, and how do we repair, how do we bring people with us on an anti-racist journey without lambasting them for saying something racist? How do we develop sophisticated ways of being able to change spaces? And I think that is best done in open community. So that's the aim. That's the aim of us here. Are there any other questions that people would like to ask? Okay. So we have one more question, which is about a practical question about Saturday morning. So the times are pretty fixed, so they're not flexible. It's not possible to, because we want to work in a group. So the times that I've published are those that, because I'm welcoming international speakers, and the programme is then written for reflection time in between sessions. So it would be a matter of receiving the Zoom link and the materials that will be made available before the session, and then coming to those sessions with your full self. I guess that's the expectation, with your full self and with the challenges. So this isn't a space to come and think, oh, I need to not bring challenges. I need to try my hardest to avoid the murkiness or the challenges that that are brought. This is a space to bring the murkiness, to bring the challenges, bring the things that bother you, that keep you awake at night. This is a collective space that is based around care and love, and developing somatic practices to undo and unlearn some of the dangers and damaging effects of racism, and to be able to be in communion and in community, to be able to hold each other's challenges in solidarity. So I have a little bit about the accreditation. So our accreditation is in the process of just receiving the logo from CIPD, which is the Continuous Professional Development organisation. So they've looked at our curriculum and agreed that it's a valid programme. And the second question is, could I ask about how to go about booking a place on the course? Did you say we needed to arrange a conversation with you first? So no, you don't need to arrange a conversation with me first. There is a Calendly link on my website, and I can send that via email to anyone who would like to book up. So Jessica, I can email that link to you to book. So if you go on LinkedIn, the link is on it's on LinkedIn. That's where many people have booked already. I hope that answers those questions. And just to say a bit more about accreditation, I've shared the curriculum, because I work in partnership with practitioners all over the world, and who work in race work, and what I've done is I've formulated a curriculum that is focused around resisting whiteness and working against whiteness. So if you've listened to my podcast, Whiteness at Work, one of the things that whiteness hates is organizing against whiteness and naming it. So what I've done is I have spent considerable time forming the curriculum with experts and people who have written extensively and received feedback. So I feel really confident that the programme is based on evidence-based research and theories that I think in practice, because I've used lots of the theories before, in practice transform the way that we think about race and the way that we understand whiteness. The deadline for the discount rate is tomorrow. Can that be extended? If your circumstances mean that you would like to sign up and arrange a payment plan beyond that, then yes, it can. So just email me at claire@equitablecoaching.com or contact me through the website or through LinkedIn, and I will be happy to talk circumstance. If you would like to book in a half-an-hour meeting with me to talk about what this course and what this programme might mean for you, then please contact me, or please go onto my website and book a half-an-hour introductory coaching session, I think it's called, and I would be happy to talk and explain anything that is unclear. The idea is that nobody gatekeeps the whiteness. I am interested in connecting with people who are drawn to this programme. It's not for everybody, but if you're drawn to it and you think, actually, I need to find a way to be able to do this in my circumstances, then please contact me. I would really welcome it. Okay, are there any other questions? And if not, I shall end there. I've never been on a program like this. It's an amalgamation of lots of different things practices that I've learned and have been necessary for my own journey. So I am so excited to bring this to you and to work in community with people who are in alignment and understand. The fact that you're here tells me that you understand the dangers and the harm that whiteness does, and how we can strategize, the necessity, I guess, of strategizing together to be able to change it. Okay, I shall leave it there. So I'm going to stop my recording and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it.